Al, we were continuing on here in 2015, of course.
Yep, 2015.
2015, and it's time to kick off the new year with the first Otome game of the year.
It's technically an Atome game from last year,
Well,
but
yes, but it's the first one we're
it's the first
talking
one
about
we're
this
talking
year.
about. Yes.
It's obviously very important.
Yes. No, it's very important.
Mm-hmm. So yes, it's time for more Otome here on this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc, Allie, and Lady
Hello.
This is episode number 420,
Blaze
the
it.
funny number.
One of the funny numbers.
And Al's gonna tell us about 9 R.I.P. 9
we
rips.
we get to date dead dudes again.
Dead dudes are here.
One of my favorite games of 2024 featured dating dead men.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one came out and I was like, "Oh my God, I just apparently like dating dead guys." Because I really liked this one too. Spoiler alert. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I did like it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
We're just dating dead dudes left and right, I guess. Why not? I
2024, the year of dead dudes at Otome.
I think it just leans into the like ridiculous nature of Otome, and I'm like, all right, I'm here for that.
Right.
Like that's just kind of one of my favorite things about Otome games is when they get a little goofy and like the entire premise of this one is goofy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was marketed as like a supernatural horror Otome game. Supernatural, I get, horror less so,
Mm-hmm.
unless you have like a really baby definition of horror.
Dead dudes
And
are
like,
scary.
well, that's coming from me. Like, I get scared of everything. And I was like, it's not really horror. Um,
Actually.
oh no, don't make me do that. Um, but there's one route that is a lot more like spooky dooky than the others, because
Mm-hmm.
that's something that is kind of worth mentioning here is that there are um I'm trying to remember exactly. One, two, three, four separate like realms of story, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like four different common routes. And they differ in their content. So you have the school ghost stories, which is two dudes. It's based on like the whole idea of like, Japanese schools having like seven school legends or whatever, you know?
Right.
So there's two guys here that are like school urban legends, which this is the spookiest of the ones that we have here. Um, and then there's the urban legends route. It's another two guys. It's just like urban legends around town. You hear about them and then you date them. Then you have the other realm, which is the man who runs hell and an incubus, not the band.
Daw.
And then the last route is the spirit world, which is like dating spirits and or gods. So you can see how the school ghost stories one would be like the spookiest of those, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it's split. And you technically have two dudes per, but then there's also a final route that's like a extra bonus guy, but he basically has like the tiniest route ever. I imagine that if there's a fan disc that he'll get more than that, but that's just how it is at the moment. Um, Also something distinct about this, I suppose, is that the art is done by the same illustrator that did Cupid Parasite.
Oh, Cupid Paradise. Let's go.
And you can tell like that distinct style is here too. So it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I liked how it translated here. I thought it looked nice. Um, and then I guess other things. It's got some some familiar voice actors, as you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have some dudes we've run into before in other Otome games. Um, Notably Kenton.
Yes, he's in
Um,
everything.
he's in everything, but the thing is that Ken plays a very different type of character than he normally does. It was like, that's Ken? No way! But it is. Like he plays like a ditzy aloof man in this, and I'm like, huh? That's not normally his go-to character style, but it was fine. It worked. It was still, Ken. Just fun. Um, let's see. There's somebody else that I thought was worth mentioning. Are there any that you feel like you're like, whoa, we should point this person out?
It's a great question.
Uh, uh, Nobuhiko Okamoto. He's been in some pretty big ones. He's in Radiant Tail, Variable Barricade, Color Cross Malice, Code Realize, Pio Fiore, Cupid Parasite. He's been in a lot of them. Um, there was another one I was gonna point out. Oh, Tetsuya Kakihara.
Victor Frankenstein.
I'll say you know this man. You know this man.
Yeah, I know him personally.
No, you don't. Um, but he's also well known for something else, and we know this because
He's Prompto.
you're being a troll.
He loves fishing, of course.
He does indeed love fishing. That is how I
Where's that on this list of fishing enthusiast?
what?
On
Fishing
the
enthusiast.
Yeah,
Oh, good
fishing
question,
enthusiast Lloyd.
Lloyd. Um, that will never not be funny to me that I realized who the voice actor was because of that fishing line, which I still can't find a video of, and I'm so mad about.
You just gotta do it yourself.
Apparently, I just have to get my Switch going and do some fishing until I can record it. Um, oh no, me fishing. Wow, that's so sad.
No one would ever expect that.
Um, okay, so that's the general gist of it. The whole idea is that the protag lives in a town, um, where people often get spirited away and like they're like ghosty stuff and urban legends, that kind of thing. Um, I'm trying to remember what her name is, and I can't for the life of me remember what her name is.
Pee pee poo poo.
Uh, Misa Ishiki. That's her name. She's fine. She's fine as a pro tag, I guess.
Could be worse.
It could absolutely be worse. Um, so yeah, she's having to deal with figuring out what she wants to do with her future. Uh, Most of the events of this game are put into motion because she has to fill out her like what are those forms called in Japan where you have to like choose what you're gonna do for your life.
Like a career survey.
Yeah, yeah, career survey. So she's trying to fill that out, and her mom has basically decided, like, oh, well, you're going to this university and you're going to go to medical school because that's what your dad did, and he was a doctor, and now he's dead, and you're going to do the same thing as him, not die, hopefully. Um, but you're going to be a doctor, and Protag's like, do I want to be a doctor? So things are set in motion because of her anxiety about this career survey. Um, and then depending on how things play out, she gets spirited away in different ways or dies or whatever. Um, and it's so funny to me because I'm gonna just say this flat out, like you have all these like serious stories about like death and coming to terms with death and like being a god and all that. And then like they'll stop in the middle like, so what do you want to do about this whole career survey thing?
Look, your future is very important.
It's like, is now the time? What is happening? So that seemed a little contrived, but it was also really funny that everybody's just like, okay, but let's talk about your career survey. So that was delightful. Um, so yeah, that's our premise. Um, the first one that I did was the school ghost stories common route. So that gives you Kureha and Hibiki, one of which is way more unhinged than the other. But we'll talk about the less unhinged one first. Um, oh, also worth mentioning that each guy has like a really pretty color design somewhere on his body, and it tends to be a representation of like how they died or something that was important to them, something to that nature. So every guy has like some kind of color coded thing on their body. Um, so there's that. But yeah, Kureha was the first guy, and it makes sense that he's the first guy. Because your best friend's talking about the Kara Kara like murder spirit in your school. That like if you're walking through the school and like it's kind of near sunset, you'll hear like the scraping of a katana on the floor. And if you look back, then he'll kill you. Like that's the whole idea of Karakara. And it starts out with like her and her best friend talking about Karakara and Protag being like, I don't know, that sounds weird, and also like I kind of feel bad for him. Like that wandering around trying to figure out what happened to you. That seems real sad. Hopefully he didn't actually murder anybody though. Um, so while she's lamenting her career path survey thing, she goes out and it's sunset and she hears the scraping and she doesn't turn around because you can't turn around. But then she gets spirited away. Whoa.
Ah.
Ah. Um, and then he realized like, oh, you can feel me, you can see me. Like what is happening here? And so yeah, you are now in the ghost realm. Um, you can see him, you can interact with him, and one of the things he likes to mention to you is that like you're one of the first people who actually like showed an interest in him as a person, like felt some degree of sympathy for him as opposed to just thinking he was like a weird murdering man. So he's kind of drawn to you because of that. Um, but yeah, he's wandering the school because he doesn't remember what happened to him. Um, he can't remember if he murdered anybody. He can't remember how he died. He's just there and he has a sword. So you enlist help of the other spirits in the school, one more so than others. There's a gal who hangs out in the infirmary area, I guess. That she does a lot of the heavy lifting in these of like taking care of Protag and trying to like come up with answers. And so they realized like, oh, well, one way to fix this whole spirited away situation and get you back into the right spot where you're supposed to be, is for you to like solve the seven school mysteries, figure out like what they actually are. And some of them are kind of goofy, like I'm trying to remember what the one that I thought was goofy was. I can't remember at this point. There's one that's also really sad where there's a story of a girl who like supposedly murdered her love interest by like poisoning his lunchbox. Um and so like there's this ghost version of this girl who like offers guys lunchboxes and she's big sad and they end up like baiting her by using Kureha, who is not Karakara. His name is not Karakara, it's Kureha. Um as like a hot dude so she can bring him a lunchbox. But it turns out the whole thing was that like she made her love interest a lunchbox and like he was planning to ask her out, but he was like eating too fast and ended up choking on it. And everybody was like too worried about like accusing her of poisoning him to actually get him help, and so he just died.
Great.
Yeah. Um, which is real messed up. But because the two of them, Korea and Protai Misa, were like, "No, we believe you that it wasn't poison." She's like, "Okay, I can move on to the other world now. I can passively peace out." That's not what
Yep,
she said.
that's how it goes. Passively peace out.
That's not what she says. But sure, that's what she does. She just pieces out and peacefully pieces out. But she's just happy because of that. But then there's another one that is real dark, and we'll get more into him in a minute. Um, but the big thing with Kureha's story is that like there are these wraiths, like evil spirits running around. And there's one in particular who is like laser focused on Misa and like wants to take her out and also ends up like cursing her at one point. Um, so that sucks. She gets like this weird mark on her face where this wraith has I guess marked her, looked at her, and it I don't know, it's kind of confusing, but it's fine. Anyway, the meat of his story is that there was a situation in 1949 where a bunch of kids went missing. And it was because there was this rich man, of course, it's always a rich man, um, who had been kidnapping kids and sacrificing them to try and bring back his daughter. Yay. This is gonna come up again, by the way. Um, so um they're investigating this whole situation of like this dude from 1949 who was murdering people. And they end up finding like the school was built on the grounds of where his house was. So a lot of the spirits that are lingering in the school are because of that situation. They also find out that like, oh hey, the ghost girl who hangs out in the infirmary, that was his daughter he was trying to bring back. She got spirited away, um, and ended up being spirited away too long and died. And so now she just hangs out at school, but then she's able to be like, "Oh, hey, my house had a basement, so you may look there to see if you have any clues." So they find the basement in the library, and oh no, the spooky wraith lady is there, and she like basically there's the whole like reveal of he Correa died here because his sister was one of the kidnapped villains, one of the kidnapped kids, one of the kidnapped kids, and was beheaded in front of him
Oh,
as a
cool.
sacrifice.
Very normal things.
Very normal things. And Kureha like grabbed a sword and was going to try and like kill the guy for doing that, but gets shot in the stomach and dies. And so when he learns this, he like starts transforming into a wraith, and Misa's like, "No, no, that ain't happening. That's a no-go, my guy." Um, and so she's able to like smooch him back so he can become a real boy again, I guess, but he's still dead, so I guess there's that. Um, there are two separate endings here. Both of his endings are kind of like sad, I guess. Which I mean it makes sense because you're a living girl and you're like falling in love with a dead man. So, there's only a few solutions here that are gonna work. Um, and so like the best ending is that essentially like he comes to terms with everything. He like helps you out with your career path survey thing, which
Yay!
again, like
It comes
comparing
back.
comparing this whole thing to like his sister getting beheaded in front of him, and he's like, by the way, can I help you with your career path survey?
By the way, your future is very important. Please remember this.
I'm like, bro. Um, but like in the best ending, she tells him how she feels and he feels the same way, and then her spirited awayness is solved, and she goes back and she's gonna, you know, deal with her career path survey thing. And she ends up getting like a wish, and her wish is basically like that she can still see Kureha. And so like they're able to communicate and everything, and her like best ending is her basically promising like, all right, well when I die, we'll get back together. Which is a intense thing to promise as a teenager.
I'm sure she'll remember that.
Yeah, yeah. So, he watches over her from the ghost realm, and he's gonna have to wait probably like 70 years for her to die so that they can be together. Romance. And then in the less, it's not a bad ending really. I mean, it is bad, but like it's not considered a bad ending. But basically like the sister Wraith. By the way, the Wraith is his sister.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah. They're able to help her pass on when they get everything figured out. But when the Wraith attacks Misa, they're like not really able to solve the situation in this ending. And her life is getting basically drained out of her. And so Kureha's solution is, well, I'll just pass some of like my soul on to you so that you can keep living because, I'm dead. It doesn't matter. She does not agree to that. She thinks that's a dumb decision. And so she smooches him and gives him like half of his soul back. So now they share a soul, but that also means that you're dead. So now you're both dead and you wander the school and haunt it together.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
That's a
Hell
better
yeah.
ending.
I mean, it's actually not a bad ending. Like I said, it's not a bad ending. And I kind of like it better than the whole idea of like, well, I'll wait for you until I die.
No, I'm gonna
You
be a
know?
spooky ghost with you now.
Yeah, like that's kind of cool. Um, yeah, it's a little bittersweetness there, but it was cute. He was a cute dude. He was a very sweet guy. He's scared of like horror stuff and ghosts and all, which is funny because he's a ghost. Um, but I did really like him. He's one of the most plain of the dateables here, I guess. But he's fine. Also his design is like red flowers on his belly, and it's because that's where he got shot and died. Pew. All right, so let's go to the real f***ed up one. You ready?
Yay!
Hope you're strapped in and ready for this one. Hibiki. Hibiki is our next school ghost story man. And Hibiki is somebody you interact with when you're trying to like solve the school mysteries things in the common route when you're trying to get unspirited away. Um, but I knew I was in for something when this man pops up because the whole plot with him is that he's like the ghost in the mirror, that there's a mirror at the school that like you can see a man in sometimes. Um, so they go and talk to him, and the protag like puts her hand on the mirror, and a guy pops up, and he has a noose around his neck.
That's fine.
I was like, oh yeah, where are we going here? We're going places. um, so he is very tied to her humanity and warmth, and he has to try and make himself not pull you into his mirror. But he's a creepy man. Um, like there's a part in this where there is a like wraith who's following you and trying to like I don't know, eat your soul or whatever they do. It's sort of unclear, but he just like grabs the Wraith's hand with like zero fear, has like this terrifying look on his face, and then snaps her arm into like three different bits. And I'm like, her arm is going many directions.
This is fine.
Ah! Um, he's your unhinged route. Like 1,000%, this is the most unhinged route. Um, because a lot of it is that like he's afraid to come out of the mirror. He's afraid to deal with people. And he also was one of the victims of the 1949 kidnapping. But um, big old trigger warning here, I guess. Um, he got kidnapped and kept hearing like all of the kids get sacrificed and like all the screaming and everything. And he's like, I can't go out on that man's terms. I can't do it. So he just like rips the sheets and hangs himself. And then he goes to hell for a while because you go to hell for killing yourself. But they gave him a lenient sentence because they said that, his choice made sense. But then he becomes friends with the guy who runs hell. So, he helps him out sometimes. And he's the one who gave him like his mirror world to keep him safe. But also, like, everybody who interacts with this guy's like, yeah, we're kind of worried he's gonna become a wraith because he's got a lot of pent up rage in him. Yep.
Are you saying that
Despite all his rage.
he's still just a man in a mirror?
He's like the Michael Jackson song.
Exactly. What if you combine those two songs together?
That would be wild. I don't know how to deal with that. Uh, so yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. He's um he's intense. He's very intense. Um, and a lot of his route is just figuring out like how is he going to interact with her? Because again, like his whole thing is that he's like very drawn to her as a person and her humanity and blah blah blah. Um, Sorry, I didn't mean to blah 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 him, but it's kind of how it is. So Protag wants to figure out like, hey, how do I help him out? And they end up like confronting the guy who kidnapped him in hell at one point. And it goes one of two ways. One is that he's able to like basically tell the guy like you ruined my life and you suck real bad and I hate you, but I'm not gonna murder you because I have somebody I care about now. Um, or the protag just says that for him, basically. They're like, he's not alone anymore and he's fine and he wanted to kill you, but he won't. So you suck. Blah. Um, yeah, he's a lot. He's a lot. Um, he's also one of those routes though that you get of like he he basically makes you promise him that like you'll die and come be with him.
Promise me.
I was like, oh. Um, and like with him making all those terrifying faces like throughout this entire thing, I'm just like, I don't like you. I mean, like he's a nice-ish. No, he's not. I don't know why I'm saying that. He's not a nice dude. He's a very unhinged, unstable, obsessed man, and I'm just like, you don't need a girlfriend. You need like 10 therapists, but you're dead, so you can't get them. Oops.
Oops, magoops.
Yeah. Um, yeah, he's a little Looney Tunes. Apparently he's like one of the most popular characters in this game, which is wild to me. 'Cause he's just I'm not usually a fan of like the unhinged characters, as you are well aware.
Mm-hmm.
So it just didn't do it for me. But that's fine. It doesn't have to, right?
Right.
Right. So that's the gist of the school stories. I'm gonna try and pick up my pace here a little because I realize I'm dragging this along. Um, Actually, the two of these tie in pretty well together. My next one was Senna. Now we're gonna move into the urban legends. The two urban legends are that there is someone called Mary Mary. So this is going to be hard to differentiate because of me having a slight Southern accent and saying things similarly. Merry, Mary Mary.
Mary,
Um,
Mary.
you know what? Sometimes I can't differentiate words, and that's okay.
I mean, those are harder words to differentiate, I think, for anyone in general.
Yeah, some people can do it, but I'm not one of them. Um,
Mary, Mary.
Mary Mary.
That sounds. It's just the same.
But Mary Mary's whole situation is that like if there's like a loved one who has departed and you're struggling to handle the loss of them or whatever, Mary Mary will like call you on your cell phone and be like, "Hey, do you want to talk to this person?" And they can talk to him, and it's like supposed to help you with closure. So there's that urban legend. The other urban legend is that there is an idol, a former idol who is now dead, that you can sometimes see stargazing in the local park. So those are two urban legends. We're gonna go with the idol one first. Oh, I also forgot to mention with Hibiki, his mark is on his neck, which you
You don't say.
know. Woo! Um, okay, so Senna. Senna is our idol boy.
The girl with the gall.
Yes. He was in a group called S Crown, and he was like really up and coming, and everybody had a lot of high hopes for him, and then he died. He doesn't know that he's dead. So he just kind of goes through his like normal daily routines and then forgets everything. So it's basically like 51st dates, but the dead idol version.
And Adam Sandler's not there.
Thank God. Um sorry. Um but yeah, so a lot of his route is helping him come to terms with the fact that he's dead, but also like figuring out his whole situation of like why he can't move on and all that fun stuff. Um So he's a cutie patootie. He's such a cute dude. Like he's adorable and he's super sweet and like one of my favorites in this. Um, but he's also just like, what's a nice way to put this? He's kind of a dumbass.
I like how
He's a
that's the nice way to put it.
he's a himbo.
Yay.
Um, yay. Um, but yeah, he's a lot of fun. You also find out that like Hibiki is a really big fan of him. Because when Senna was in school there, he used to practice his dancing and singing and stuff in front of Hibiki's mirror. And so Hibiki, like anytime Senna is mentioned, he's like, Senna? I love Senna. It's like that's like the one thing that gets him excited besides murder. Um, as a line.
That sure
But
is a
yeah,
line.
he's actually got like a really really tragic story. Like he was, like I said, an up and coming idol. He was just becoming big, and then at one of their stages, he like passed out, and everybody's like, "Oh, is he okay? Is he okay?" And so he took a little bit of a break and ended up realizing that he had a heart condition that he was unaware of, and he was trying to, recover from it. Was in the hospital for a while, and one day he broke out of the hospital. And they basically say like he was a like skinny shell version of like what he used to be. And he like went to his favorite park in town. He laid down to do some stargazing. And then a few hours later, somebody walked over and found him and he was dead. So that's where the whole like idea of the stargazing idol came from. But obviously now he's a ghost, so sometimes people will see like a version of him just like when he was an idol, looking normal, not in a hospital gown, not dying, etc., just laying there looking at the stars. Um, which he has a yellow design on his chest, which is, his heart condition. Um, so that was really sad. And like the reason why he can't move on is because like he wanted people to love him as an idol. And he obviously can't do that now because he's dead. Um, and the protag in this one is spirited away in the same way as she was before, except for this time she got hit by a car, so she got spirited away by that. She thinks she's dead though. I will clarify that. She thinks that she's dead in both the urban legend routes. Because she got hit by a car. But she's actually just spirited away. There's somebody who's watching out for her that spirited away before she got hit, so she is technically alive. Um, but she's working with Senna to try and figure out like how do I help you out? And then her like time being spirited away expires, so she can't meet with him anymore. Um, one of the solutions that she comes up with is like, okay, well, what if we can meet in Hibiki's mirror world? Because it's like ghostly enough that we can maybe talk. And so they do. That's where they meet up. but they also have to run away because Hibiki at one point's like, you know what? There's a human girl in my mirror. What if I just keep her here? Cinna, you don't need her, right? She could be mine. And Cinna's like, no, 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 none of that. This is not right. Um, so they kind of have the realization of like, hey, you're dead. I'm not dead. What are we gonna do about that? Um, and they end up having like I forget exactly what it is. There's some kind of like spiritual thing that's given to her. Um, so they're able to meet with each other like once a year, basically like that one Japanese trope story where like lovers can meet once a year because of things crossing over and blah blah blah, you know? Um, so there's that. It's another one of like, hey, I promise when I die, we'll be together. So yeah. But Senna was really cute. I liked him a lot. I liked him a whole lot. Um, Actually, I would say that the two dudes in this one are my favorite. I may have mentioned that, but they're definitely my favorite. Which, speaking of favorites, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Koyo. He's a streamer. He's a streamer. He streams horror games and then he streams himself going into like scary haunted places. Um, and then in this situation, he's quote unquote dead.
Oops.
Yay.
I hate when my
Oops.
streamers are dead.
Um, Same. Um, so he is the one who like finds you when you first get hit by the car slash spirited away in this route. He's like, yeah, I needed to find you. I needed to like help you out because, being dead's kind of rough. So I want to, kind of help you out, be a mentor, that kind of thing. Um, which she thinks is weird, but she goes along with it. And he basically is just like, all right, well, just tag along, be my assistant for a few days, and we'll figure this out. We'll get you going. Um, and you find out like his role is the Mary Mary role. And she asked him a few times, like, how does your phone work? He's like, I don't know. Like, I woke up with it. I had the phone. I can somehow call people's phones when they're alive. And sure, that's what I just decided to do a good thing with it. Um, so that's what he does, and you help out a lot. And then like he does stuff like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you to a movie. We don't have to pay for movies because we're dead." That's pretty cool, right?
You're not
Um,
wrong.
but he's not wrong. I mean, who's gonna tell you to pay for a ticket when you're dead?
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, his story is real messed up because there is a gal who like follows him around all the time. Like he's unhappy about it. He doesn't want her around. Like he knows she's looking for him, but like he's been able to get around her without her finding him so far. Her name's Reika. And she tells Protag a few times like, "Hey, so you keep hanging around with my boyfriend, and I'd rather you didn't. Like that's kind of messed up." And Protag's like, I didn't realize that that was the whole situation." And so she ends up talking to him and he's like, "Oh, no, no, she killed me. That's not my girlfriend at all."
Common
Um,
mistake.
what yeah, know. Um, Again, he was a streamer. And there was this girl who has been watching since he was like a baby streamer, and she's real wealthy and her parents don't love her, so she would just throw money at the streamer. Um and he would like always say thank you and he would say hi to her and everything. And so she started interpreting this as like he was in love with her and paying special attention to her. And she would like buy him stuff and he's like, hey, thanks, I guess. Cool. Um, so he was getting real uncomfortable with the whole thing, obviously, understandable. Um, and so he kind of stopped engaging with her, and she did not like that. So she found out where he lived, and she knocked on the door, and he's like, I don't have a delivery. I don't know what's going on here. Like, who is this? And he opens the door, and she's like, Hi, hello, it's me. I have a knife. Stab. So she stabs him, and then she stabs herself, and then she sets his apartment on fire.
That is very excessive.
It's very excessive. His mark is on his arm. It's a green mark on his arm that is supposedly from the fire. You would think it would have something more to do with the knife, but it's fire related because that's how he actually thinks he dies. Because the plot twist in this is that he's not actually dead. He's in a very similar situation to Protag and that he's like in between. Um, but he's had like this grudge against her and he's been wanting to kill her back. But the thing is that when you kill somebody like in the ghostly realm, like they die forever, like they're gone. So he's just wanting to like get her out of here and she's basically just like, "Hey, I want to be with him forever. Yay! This is great." Um, it's not great. It's bad. Um, but they end up like basically getting her caught by the Hell Police,
you know.
which is, there's that. Um, but the good thing about his route is that his route is the only one that actually has like a really satisfying ending because they're both alive. Like they promise each other like, hey, once we both wake up, we'll find each other, go to the like front of this subway station. We'll find each other and we'll continue this. They also smooch a lot. They have lots of smooching CGs, which is cool. I mean, a lot of the other ones don't have as many smooching CGs. Um, so Protag wakes up. She's not doing great because she got hit by a car.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, yeah. But she recovers and she like goes and waits by the train station like every day and waits for him and she starts freaking out because like after a few days he doesn't show up. Um, but eventually he does and he like comes up behind her and hugs her and is like, "Hi, I finally found you." He like calls her phone first, but yeah, he just needed a little bit more time to I guess, adjust to being alive again because he had been stabbed and in a fire.
Yeah, yeah, they'll take a little bit longer than just I got hit by a car.
Yeah. So, but he's also been in some degree of a coma for like a year at this point, I think.
right.
Um, so there's gonna be some like muscle issues and all. I don't know. They didn't clarify how long he has been in this, like how long he like I said, about a year, I think, but I could be wrong. But they don't clarify how long between the we'll promise to meet up and the actual meetup, how long that happens.
Hmm.
Um, but he's fine, and he doesn't actually have a burn. His arm is not actually burned. He just imagined that would have been the situation since his apartment was on fire. But he had gotten himself out of the apartment and then passed out because of, smoke inhalation and blood loss. And so he thought he died and he had not. So, um, he was super cute and I love this route and I was glad that there was actually like a good ending in this game. Um, like where things weren't like, hey, I'll wait for you like until you die and then we'll be together in death. So it was that. That. It was cute. I like this one. Um,
I like how all his clothes, his there's tiny bits of his hair, then the scar on his arm look like he's sponsored by Razor.
you know what? He kind of does.
He is a streamer.
He is a streamer. You're right. I'm gonna send you a picture of his shoes because I feel like you need to see his shoes.
Oh
Um,
no.
Also as a side note, he is really he's best friends with Senna, um, the idol man. They went to school together. They've been best friends since they were kids. But he's also friends with Correja, and he always takes him to scary movies, even though Correja doesn't like scary movies, so he just trolls him.
Those sure are some shoes.
Yep. Um, yeah, the green hair underneath is giving me some like Rohan Kashibe type vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I liked him a lot, even though he's a streamer. I was worried when I started playing as well. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like this guy, am I? He's gonna be weird. But he was actually fine. He was a very sweet boy, and I liked him a lot. Okay, so after that we go to the other realm, which is basically hell. Yay! Um, so I started with Seiya, who is the Grand Warder of the Hell Organization, HO. Um, he runs hell. He decides what kind of stuff happens to you when you get to hell. Um, he's also like a like he's that kind of guy that you do anything and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm immediately in love with you." Uh, which is wild. And he is very, very blatant and clear, constantly like, "Hey, by the way, I'm in love with you." And she's like, that this Joker, this little goofy man. Why would he why would he do that? Why would he say things like he's in love with me? Totally not in love with me. That's goofy. Um, he's also like he has a background as an exorcist, which I guess ties into his whole hell thing. But yeah, you're in the other realm, you're spirited away there, and he's having to like deal with you while also dealing with his job and all that fun stuff. Um, there is another situation with the stalker from the previous route, Reika, where she is trying to break out of hell and she ends up like possessing the protag and that doesn't work and basically Saya like smooches the possessed version of you because Reika's like, I don't want to kiss him. You're not my streamer. So she like leaves the body of the protag and then he shoots her, which then obliterates her because if you kill somebody who's already dead, they don't exist anymore. So there's that. He's also trying very hard to protect you from the incubus. Again, not the band.
Oh.
Um, so he I don't know, he was one of my least favorites. His whole thing is that like he's a failed exorcist, like he was supposed to exorcise somebody and he wasn't able to pull it off. So like his father figure ended up getting killed by that demon. And so he's just kind of like, wait, I can't do things. But he's also like, he imagines romantic things with you happening, even though like the things aren't happening, and it felt kind of delusional. It was a little weird.
Right.
Um, but also like he's one of the ones who's actually able to like understand more of the situation that's going on with her mom and is able to like talk with her dead dad to be like, "Hey, what's the situation here and why is she like this?" And like helping with with that whole situation. Which by the way, this whole time, she's still having to deal with this career path survey thing.
Remember, your future is very important.
The future's very important. So some of them she ends up coming up with some solutions. For the most part, she always chooses not to go into I mean, in every single one she chooses not to go into medicine. She doesn't want to be a doctor. Um, the most common thing that she ends up doing is deciding she's going to be a pastry chef because sweets make her happy. Um, so yeah, he's also one of the ones of like, hey, so we're married now and I'm gonna like stick around and basically haunt you until you die, and then we're gonna be together.
Very normal behavior.
Yeah. In the alternative version of his, basically she ends up staying in the other world too long and dies, and she ends up like working by his side in the Hell organization, which is a little less, cool, I guess. It's a little messed up. But he was the one that I just, like I said, I didn't really click with him very well, but that's okay. I don't click with everybody. Um, but then there's Minami, who I this was my least favorite of the routes. Not Minami generally, just the other world ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Incubus story, I was like, okay, well, this is odd. Um, like the whole idea is that this Incubus has been trying to take her soul basically since she was a child, like a small child. Um, and that's why there is a god of some sort who's protecting her soul. And so, Minami's been trying like this whole time to figure out like how do I bypass this god situation so I can get her soul because he had made a deal with a guy in the past, and the guy had a very pure soul, and so he's losing himself now, and that soul is taking over basically. So he needs like another very pure soul to take so that he can like counteract that guy. I don't know, it's really confusing. It's kind of weird. But that's the whole idea of it. Um, so a lot of this is just like, hey, can I have your soul yet? Hey, can I have your soul yet? Hey, can I have your soul yet? And we're like, oh my God, can you please stop asking me for the soul, my guy? Um, but she kind of becomes like unhinged Looney Tune character in this one because she's just like obsessed with this idea of being with him. Um, he's also very um tsundere character because he can't admit that he actually likes you because he's trying to steal your soul, you know. Um, so there are moments where things are like, hey, cute things are happening, but meh. Um, I don't remember a lot of his route. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm even looking through CGs and I'm like, I don't remember what happened here. Um, I do know at one point, they have to um basically do a ritual where um she's trying to go into I don't remember who's dreaming. Her mom's dream, maybe? I don't remember. She's trying to go into a dream. And so they have to do like a ritual to be able to like share dreams. And the ritual ends up being like, oh, right, he's an incubus. Hmm. Um, I will say one thing here made me really uncomfortable because you have the choice of like she can stay awake through it or she can go to sleep through it. And like I feel really uncomfortable with the idea of like him doing that while she's asleep and like unconscious and unaware of what's happening.
Right.
Like that's uncomfortable to me. I don't know. That could just be me. But I was like, oh,
Icky.
that's a little icky. Um, so this all comes down to like they meet up with the pure soul in his body. Maybe they're supposed to go to sleep at the same time so she can get into his dream so that she can confront. I don't remember what it is. Anyway, they confront the spirit and you either like overpower it or like make a deal with it, whatever. One of them ends up being like she basically also becomes, I guess she would be a succubus, not an incubus, but she stays in the other world and becomes a demon with him. Um, The other one is that she goes back and is like living her life and he just like shows up as like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm here. I can't deal with you being away from me and I'm gonna be a weird jealous guy, so I'm just here all the time now." I was like, "Ooh."
Great.
Um, he's also the only one who gives zero about your career path. He does not care.
Your future plans? Ah, who cares? Whatever. Your
He
future
does
plans are with me.
me. He does not care. I was like, "Oh my God." So yeah, his route was just both of the other world routes were really not for me, but they were fine. Like I didn't hate them and they weren't like extremely problematic like some routes have been. Um, like they were fine. So then we go to the gods. We're gonna start with Yukimaru, who is Ken. This man loves anime. He loves anime. He is also like extremely excitable and extremely loud and super cheery. And he just determines at one point, like, hey, I'm gonna be your guardian spirit and I'm gonna make you happy. We're gonna fix this whole situation with your career path. We're gonna fix the situation with your mom, and then I'm gonna be a full-fledged guardian spirit because I'm gonna make you happy.
Gotta fix the problem with your career survey, of course. That's the big thing.
The big thing. Um, so yeah, there's that. Um, I think the funniest thing about this route is that the way that it starts is that the protag is like something feels wrong about like what's going on in my life right now. Like, what if I go see a monk and get purified, and the monk that basically does like an exorcism on her, which like takes away the protection of the big god, which we'll talk about eventually, but also makes it so she can see other spirits. So Yukimaru's one of them. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" She's like, "Huh? This is supposed to happen with exorcisms." Um, yeah, He's he's a cheery dude and they've described him as childlike, which I guess, yeah, sure. He wants food all the time. He's kind of bratty. He wants to watch anime all the time. Um, he's he's cute. He's very cute. Um, very much not like a normal Ken role at all. Like he has like none of the suaveness, none of the like um I don't know, slightly like smugness to his characters is just like high pitched yelling the whole time. Like, okay, interesting. Um, and along with him, you end up having Koharu um tag along, which he's our next route. We'll talk about him, but he's the spirit of the spirit board. So basically, like if you mess up with the he's basically like a Ouija board, but if you mess up with the ritual, then he has to haunt you. And you mess up in this route, so he's just hanging around too. But him and Yukimaru are like friends, but they also hate each other, or at least Koharu hates him. It's a whole thing, but they're fun together. Their dynamic I really enjoyed. Um, but yeah, he just he wants to be your guardian spirit and make you happy. Um, they also have the ability to like switch into like a human mode so that they don't make you look completely bonkers talking to a bunch like some spirits, you know?
You know.
Which is good. Um, this dude's not even a himbo. He's just dumb. He's just dumb. Which, sure, that's fine. I don't hate that, but he is a dummy. He just wants to eat all the time. No, 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 no. But yeah, the whole idea with his route is that like he wants to do this whole guardian spirit. He wants to solve your issue so that he can become a guardian spirit. Um, but he also realizes like if he solves your problem that you can no longer see him, which is problematic because you know you fall in love with him and he falls in love with you. You also find out that he used to be a god, like a full-fledged god, but um he was like the god of a like smaller area and the population ended up decreasing and like only two people would like come to a shrine. So and then one day like only the wife came to the shrine and he's like, "Hey, you know, what happened here?" And finds out like, "Oh, the husband is ill and like now they can't be together because he's dying." And so Yukimaru basically decides like, ah, I don't need to be a god, and breaks the rules and heals the husband so that they can be together again, but you're not allowed to like directly interfere in people's lives as a god, so they strip him of his godhood and like mark him on his finger, which is his mark. Which I've been neglecting marks. It's fine. Sayas was like on his face where he got attacked in the demon thing, and I don't even know that Minami has one because he's goblin. Um, but yeah, he's marked because they're like, yeah, that's the sign of a former god. Like it's supposed to be like a thing to ostracize them, but he wears it as like a badge of honor because he's like, I was able to help somebody and that's what I care about, which is why he became a guardian spirit in training. Um, yeah. Once he's able to like solve your issue, which they end up solving the issue by like helping you realize that she wants to be a pastry chef and ends up like solving the issue and working with her mom and everybody's happy. Yay. But then like he disappears. But she can still see Koharu because he's haunting her still. And so he's able to like give her the ability to see him again and they get married. But also like he's still a spirit, so I don't know exactly how that all works. IDK. Um, yeah, I liked him a lot better in everybody else's route that he's in than I liked him in his actual route, but he's still a fun character. Um, then we'll talk about Koharu, who is the actual tsundere of this game. Um, he like even starts out when he meets you like by calling you his dog. Um, but as I mentioned, he's the spirit of the spirit board. If you lift your finger from the coin when you're doing the ritual, then you have to be haunted by Koharu. So he haunts you. Um, but he also just does like the weakest haunting I've ever seen in my life. He's not very good at it. 'Cause he's very sweet the whole time and like makes you food. So there's that. He's a softie. Um, this is also one of my favorite routes in this game. I really liked him. I thought he was super cute. But his whole thing is that like he he has become attached to a few people that he's haunted. One of them being Hibiki, which is cute. 'Cause Hibiki obviously needed a friend. And there is some closure that happens here that like Hibiki basically is like I I felt like I couldn't talk to Koharu anymore, which is sad. Um, but like that's not what Koharu meant. There was a whole situation where like he was trying to protect Hibiki, which is he ends up losing his eye in a fight trying to protect Hibiki from a demon. So he's got like this purple mark on his face and also his eyes closed. Um, but that's like a significant part of the route of like them communicating on like, hey, Hibiki misses you and wants to talk to you and you should go talk to him. And like it helps both of them figure their out. Um, but yeah, the big thing with Koharu's route is that at the very beginning when they're talking, they end up like talking about this ritual that like his hometown used to do where they would do like the baby metal kitsune hand symbol thing.
Hmm.
And they would say something, I forget what the phrasing was, but they'd say it, and then like to complete the ritual, you had to like bump the noses of the two finger foxes together. And he was explaining this to her as like a way to say like, hey, this was supposed to keep people from like, I guess I was gonna say veering off the path, but that's not correct. Basically cheating on the person you're in love with. Um, but he gets confused because he's like, you're not supposed to complete that. Like, why did you bump them together? And she's like, it's fine. It's no big deal. It is a big deal. It ends up basically putting a spell on her.
Whoops.
Oops. Oops. Um, but yeah, he's really cute. He ends up doing a lot of like protecting and like making sure you're all good. Um, meets your sister, your older sister, and she thinks that he's neat. Um, so yeah, basically like them doing that spell ends up causing an issue where like if they're away from each other, and like she ends up feeling really sick. He tries to figure out what it is and then realizes like, oh shoot, like the spell actually worked. Um, and then there are two options here. Um, one is that like he goes to talk to his clan and they basically are like, hey, by the way, you're supposed to haunt people and not fall in love with them. That's kind of bad. And if you're gonna be like this, then you can't be part of our clan anymore. So he basically like loses his family and also his job as the spirit board ghost. Oops. Um, but gets to be in love with you, so that part's fine, I guess. So he gets to stick around. And like I said, he can like he has a human form, so it's not like you can't see him or whatever, like like some of the others, or you can't like be around him. Um, the like worse route is that basically like he goes and talks to his clan, and the solution is that like I think he can haunt you for like 8 minutes a day, and like that's their solution. Is it like they can only spend 8 minutes a day together every day, but he has to haunt you for 8 minutes a day so that like his clan doesn't become suspicious of him spending time with you. And they don't like throw him out. Um, which is kind of goofy. And like they end the whole route being like, yeah, I don't know that 8 minutes is enough. We're gonna figure this out. So they eventually like have to figure it out. But I thought it was funny. He's like, oh yeah, my other solution is we could just I can haunt you for 8 minutes. It's like, why'd you make 8 minutes, my guy?
It's a very specific number.
It's very specific. It's not a lot.
No.
Um, so yeah. Um, and he's also very supportive of you being a pastry chef. So final route is the final route. Um,
Yeah.
yep. And also technically part of the god realm. His name is Toka, and Toka is the god who has been putting every single thing into action since the very beginning. Like he's the one who keeps spiriting you away. He's the one who's been protecting you. He's the one that ends up getting exorcised away from you so that Yukimaru can see you. Like it's he's the cause of all of it. Um, but he's also like a very, very short route since he's like a bonus route, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was also a little uncomfortable at first because he like looks like a child. So it's like mm. um uh, uh, no one's gonna get that, but that's a sound we do with each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, he's a god who has been protecting you since you were a child. He previously was a pretty powerful, I guess they're called Tengu gods. I don't know. Um, but he saw the protag when she was like 5 years old, I think, and she was being approached by Death with a scythe. And Death's like, I gotta kill this kid because she's being haunted by this incubus. And Toga is like, no, that's don't do that. She's 5. Can we not do that? So he like makes a deal with Death that he'll protect her until she's strong enough to like fight off the incubus situation on her own. Um, so he protects her throughout like everything, which is why you keep getting spirited away and all that jazz. But what he traded in that is part of his like god power, but also by doing that, he ends up getting converted into this like child form. Um, which he says that he's proud of this form because he was able to protect her. But he realizes like throughout this whole thing of like, oh, she doesn't see me as like a man because I look like a child, and that's bad because I want her to love me, and she won't if I look like a child. So he's kind of bummed by that, understandably, I guess. So they like go on a couple of hangout dates, and um at one point they like meet with her sister, and her sister's like, "Huh, you look exactly like a guy who ended up like saving my sister from a car accident when she was 5." And he's like, that's funny. The somebody would look like me anyway. That's weird. Um, so he's like struggling with like what do I do with this whole situation? And Misa ends up taking things in her own hands and m- asks Yukimaru and Koharu to like help her meet with death so that she can negotiate with death to get his powers back. Which is ballsy as hell. And so she's able to like meet with death, and death's like, yeah, you know what? You might be strong enough to handle this now. Like you obviously have the guts to summon me and deal with me. So like maybe we can do this. So he gets his adult form back and he's hot, surprisingly enough. Who could have seen that coming? And they do their smooches and he like helps her in her fight to make sure that she doesn't lose her soul to um Minami the Incubus man. Um and he also has like a little human form. Although his human form is strange because he ends up getting like short hair where he had like really, really long hair before. Um, but yeah, he's like, "Hi, I love you. I'm gonna be around you all the time now." Yay! It was a fine route. It was cute. It was like I said, it was really short, and I was weirded out at first because he was like a child, but it ended up working out fine, I guess. Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, overall, it was a wild game. It was kind of all over the place in terms of like all the dead dudes you get to date and god dudes, I guess, because they're not all dead. Um,
And a streamer boy.
but it scratched an itch of like, and a streamer boy. He was a streamer boy. He got stabbed, boy.
Yep.
Um, he was my favorite. I loved him a lot. But yeah, it was a fun game, and it like I said, scratched that itch of like bizarro Otome that I really, really was lacking in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
2024 gave me what I needed, which was great. And this one was fun, even
Alrighty.
though
Well,
it was a little weird at times, but it's good.
little weird.
Mhm.
Well, there's only one thing left to do, and that's put it on your ranking of
The
Atome.
ranking of Otome.
Yes, we have 43 games on the list right now. This will be game 44.
Wow.
Al, where do you want to start with the ranking?
Um, how about we start? Hmm. How about we start at 15?
Ooh, all right. Well, is 9 R.I.P. 9 RIP
Nine rip.
better or worse than Color Cross Malice Unlimited?
I would say it is better.
Is it better than Mystic Messenger?
I think it's better.
Is it better than My Next Life as a Villainous All Routes Lead to Doom Pirates of the Disturbance?
Yes.
Is it better than Code Realize Wintertide Miracles?
Yeah.
Is it better than Dairoku Agents of Sakuratani?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it better than Hatoful Boyfriend?
Yeah.
Is it better than Olympia Soiree?
No.
We got a new entry into the top 10.
The top 10.
Yes, a new number 10 entry.
Oh my
And
God. I thought for a second I put 9 RIP at number 9. I was like, holy shit, but no, I didn't do that.
no,
That would have been funny.
at number 10. So there you go. 2024 Atome coming in real high. 2 games in the top 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
Big year for the 2024 Atome.
Yeah, and both involve dating dead men.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. New entry into the list. Game number 10 of 44.
Ow.
Wow. And that's going to do it for us this week. So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalamecheckup.com or sec.cool where you can find past episodes of this podcast, other podcasts like Jared Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Ann Ladium, go to annladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. Follow us on Blue Sky at seasonalamecheckup.com. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, a critical analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, Hot Tubs, and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early. Our monthly exclusive Patreon podcast, it's up there. We got a wealth of other bonus content as well on the Patreon for you to enjoy. Next week we'll talk about something else. That probably doesn't involve dead dudes, I would assume. But maybe it does. I don't know.
Probably not.
We'll see.